Welcome to August 2033. We have just finished the 2033 trade deadline. Your fake Orioles have 67 wins and are not the best team in baseball. 644 winning percentage. The Astros 648. The O's went 12-12 in July, 3-7 in their last 10. So some struggles. We'll get into that. But overall, still an excellent season. And if our worst month in a couple of years is a 500 record at 12-12, that's a sign that we're probably a pretty good team. And you can see our Pythagorean win expectancy is 73-31, -6 our real record. We're plus 198 run differential because as a 67-37 team, we're 17-18 in one-run games. So we had really bad luck in close games. Extra innings a little better, 8-5, but we've not been winning those coin flips, those close games. So let's get to the big news first. Let's go and see what trades we made. We did make one very big trade. And let's see. It is way down here. Lots of trades leading up to the deadline. This is the big trade we made right here. We acquired second baseman Joe Satchel and then a minor league pitcher for 5 dudes who we'll get to. So first of all, who is Joe Satchel? He is a very decorated, as you can see by his 3 gold gloves, 6 all-star appearances, and 4 Silver Slugger awards. Second baseman from the Texas Rangers, who had lost like 9 in a row and decided to punt on the season. This guy's an animal. Look at him. 5.6, 7.9, 6.0 WAR. He put up 3.8 in 88 games so far for the Rangers this season. A career WRC plus of 130, OPS plus of 128. Yeah, this guy's good. This guy's really good. You can see that here. I mean, he's got a bunch of leaderboard appearances without getting into the weeds too much. I mean, WAR, the last 4 seasons in WAR, he's finished 7th, 1st in 2030, but didn't win the MVP, 3rd and 4th. So really he's been an MVP caliber player for the last 4 seasons, and we just added him to the best team in baseball. So he's 30 years old, and why did the Rangers want to get rid of him? Well, he's got an opt-out after this year. They signed him to an 8-year, $168.6 million deal, but opt-out after the 2nd year. And I am imagining he's going to opt out. I can't imagine that he's going to stay here. I mean, he's probably, I don't know, the top players have been getting 25 to 30 million per year on the open market in my sim. I think he's going to opt out. I'll be actually kind of hoping he opts out because I don't want to be paying a 35 and 36-year-old $24.8 million per year, even though right now he's an elite player. So what did we give up for him? It actually wasn't that painful, and I think that's because he's basically a free agent to be, right? The game definitely takes that into consideration. So we gave up this piece off our Major League roster, Jonathan Groves, who was a 29-year-old for us. We drafted him in the 3rd round of 2025, and he'd been a nice piece for us. Last year, he put up a 2.81 ERA out of the pen. This year, a 1.37 ERA and a 2.63 FIP. Only in 19 innings, though, and he's good. He's good enough to start. We just have such a deep pitching staff. So in Texas, he's a starter. I really like his high movement in Baltimore, and he's got an elite changeup. I don't know. He's a good player. But he's not a player that you hold on to and don't include in a deal because you can get an MVP player back. This was their number 1 guy by far. If I took him out of the deal and had the rest of the deal intact and said, okay, who other than Groves will you give me? Or can I give you? It was some of my best players. So to them, I think they had a really high opinion of Groves. OSA and MyScout both see him as a league average starter. Rangers, I guess, see him as a little bit better than that. He's 29. He was out of options. So Groves goes. Seth Robinson is another guy who is a major league piece for them. A reliever who was in AAA for me, was probably my main call-up if I had a long-term injury in the bullpen. But he was 28. And I have other young pitchers who can perform in that kind of call-up role too. So it was fine getting rid of him. The best prospect I got rid of was Willy Salazar. You can see my head scout thinks his future potential value is a 50. OSA thinks a 55. Pretty decent, though, here. This was an international free agent guy. He cost me $5 million back in 2031, so he's still very young. He's 19. He is pitching. He was a disaster for my team last year and then this year, but now he's gone and made 4 starts for the Rangers rookie ball team and is looking pretty good. His FIP isn't great. His strikeout to walk rate is, though. I mean, he had a negative 5.2 strikeout to walk rate last year for me. Then this year so far is 0.0. Now he's gone in 23 innings for him to put up a 13.7 strikeout to walk percentage. So, yeah, and he's got good work ethic. I think this is a guy, if with that work ethic and his already this ceiling, if he makes strides, he could be a number 1, number 2 starter if he develops beyond his ceiling. So let's go ahead and see what else do we go. So that was the top prospect. He was like our 11th prospect overall. Pretty good prospect. Danny Ortiz. This is a guy who I drafted recently. He was a 3rd-round pick in 2031. An all-glove guy whose bat has just kind of tailed off and he hasn't done much. You can see his WRC plus as a 24-year-old in high A was a 91. I think he could be a major leaguer. He could be a utility player on a bad team. But this is not the kind of guy I'm going to employ probably. You can find these guys. But, OSA is a bit higher on him, and maybe the Rangers are even higher than that. And he could play the field for you now in the major leagues. So I think he could be a major league player potentially for them. And then the other guy is Jeff Davis, who does not look like much. He was my 16th round pick in 2029, but he was having a really nice season for me in Frederick. He put up 1.5 WAR, 92 innings, and the season before he had been good for me in Delmarva, 3.18 ERA, 3.88 FIP in 82 innings. So he's a guy who does not look like he has much of a future, but all he's done so far in the minors is pitch well. So, we'll see on him. So those are, I hit them all, right? Yep, those are the 5 guys I gave up. And then I went and made a couple bullpen moves too. Get back to that trade log, sorry. So I brought in this guy, Austin Vernon, to pitch out of the bullpen. This was to replace Groves. And the main guy I gave up is Jeremy Gaines, who could be a good bat, but he's first base, if anything. And he was in Bowie for me, hitting well. He put up a 116 WRC+, but he's 25. He's only going to play first base or DH. Low contact, not great at void Ks. He might have a couple good seasons in the majors. And I also got a minor league reliever. But so this guy replaced Groves, but then what that did is it threw my lefty-righty balance out of whack because Groves was a lefty, Vernon is a righty. So what I did was I went out and I got a lefty a few days later. I got Gregory Soto, who is 38, on the last year of his deal. Oh, and so is Vernon. Vernon's a free agent to be. Pretty good movement and a really good slider, and he's a lefty, so he's come over. And I didn't give up much. I gave up a 26-year-old AA outfielder. So, Soto is 38, an average major league reliever on an expiring contract, not going to cost you much. And I also got some random dude in the deal too. So, obviously the Satchel trade was the big one. Let's go ahead and take a look at how the season's looking. Let's sort by WAR. No, let's do WRC+. Concepcion just absolutely mashing, absolutely dominating. 165 WRC+, 4.9 WAR. He is on pace for 159 starts and 7.6 WAR, so an MVP caliber season out of him. Armendariz, a good season, an all-star level season. 137 WRC+, on pace for 4.2 WAR, but certainly below where he's been the last 2 years with 6.1 and 9.2 WAR. And, a lot of it still is BABIP related, and his power's down too, but his walks are still up, his strikeouts are down. 303 BABIP the last 2 years and then 246 this year. That's a lot of what's dragging him down, especially, he's walking more and striking out less, and he's a worse hitter. A lot of that is just bad luck. Then we got Satchel, who hasn't been here for very long. Ben Ortega, very solid season out of him with the 133 WRC+. Bob has picked it up some. He's up to 1.4 WAR, on pace for 2.2. Obviously, a big drop-off for him. 118 WRC+ would obviously be a big drop-off from his 154 and 169. And his BABIP's getting up into respectable areas, so he just isn't as good this year, and that's okay. Sal Stewart's having a nice year at third base. Franklin Sanchez, average hitter with a Gold Glove defense. You'll take that all day in center. Sandoval was at second, but pushed to the utility infielder role with Satchel coming aboard, and Omar Enriquez was sent down, even though he was tearing it up. And then Trujillo, Angelotta's at short, playing a decent glove. Bat isn't that great. And then the rest of these guys are bench bats. I did call this guy Telma Pradas up to give him some time as my backup catcher and sent Saul Mel down. So that's the offense. Concepcion leading the way. Ortega's been great. Bob's been okay. Mario Armendariz has been great, but below his his normal performance. Pitcher side of things, rotation continues to be excellent. McKinley Moore continues to be excellent, 3.2 WAR in 77 innings with a 2.09 ERA and FIP. Wow. And he struck out 15.6 guys per nine. Donovan's awesome. Caldera, Schilt, Sanchez, Aguilar, all these guys have just been great. I mean, they've all got ERAs in the 2s or 3s. All their FIPs are in the 2s or 3s, except Aguilar's FIP is at 4.01. This bullpen's been good. Dave Correa thrown out of the back end has been good. Arujo, Sosa, and Chetta has been good. Soto and Vernon are the newcomers. And then Willy Gomez was called up because Sacco Vogt went on the IL for 7 weeks. And he was up earlier in the season but just got called back up. So then on the info page, you can see here that 12 and 12 July. But we're still first in a lot of things. On base for second. We're 12th in walks. We don't really walk. We're fourth in home runs because we have like 2 guys, I think, without a home run. 2 starters, more than 2 guys. So Sanchez doesn't have one yet, neither does Angeletta. Our starting shortstop and center fielder. And then Ortega's only got 5. Home runs. But our offense overall is very productive. Pitching, you can see first in earned run average. Bullpen is third. Fielding's excellent. We're still a top team. Hopefully we can get things on track here because in July we certainly were not a top team. I think a lot of that was our hitting just went cold. And let me just look at that real quick, just show you that real quick before we wrap this video up. Yeah, Armendariz had just a 94 WRC+. I mean, Bob was great at 136. Concepcion was just a monster, but Trujillo was bad. Ortega was bad. Angeletta wasn't good. Armendariz was a below-average hitter. So that'll hurt. But 67 and 37, still leading the AL East by a wide margin, 11 games, and we brought in an MVP caliber second baseman for the stretch run, and we'll have another update here soon. See you guys next time.